Hey, welcome back to section 5.3, which is taking percents and convert them to fractions, and then I want to do fractions to percents. Okay, first is understanding percentage and what they mean as far as a decimal is concerned. So what I want to do is I want you to think about this. There's a couple ways to think about this. We can always, for percentages, you can always divide by 100 to get the decimal, or you just take the decimal and move it over 2 places to the left. So that's your decimal right here. You move it over. So your decimal would be 0.25. Okay, now what does this mean is, we've talked about this before, 5 is in the 100th position, so I'm going to say 25 over 100. Then if we divide each by 25, you get 1 over 4. So 25% is 1/4, and most of us do know that. I'm going to do the same thing with 29%. I'm going to say 29.0. Move my decimal over 2 positions. That's where I get 0.29. That 9 is in the 100th again. And this right here I cannot reduce. That is my answer. But the next one of these might give us a little problem. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and write this as a decimal. You can still divide it by 100, or you can say, okay, 6.2, put some zeros, so I'll move my decimal over 2 positions. So this is 0.062. Now, I'm looking at this 2. This 2 means that that's in the 1,000th. So that means I'm going to put 62 over 1,000. And since I've got a 2 and a 0, I'm going to divide each by 2. And by doing that, I get 31 over 500, which that is as far as I can go with that fraction. Now, fractions to percents. Okay, now, so this is 16 and 3/8. So what is the percent on that? So that means it's going to be 16 point something. Okay? So if we have our calculators, we can put it in, or we can just say, okay, 8 goes into 30 how many times? Or 3. 8 goes into 3 0 times. So then 8 goes into 30 3 times. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 60. Hold on, that messed up. Okay, 8 goes into 33 times. Then what I do is bring down my 0. 8 goes into 67 times. And then 8 times 7 is 56. Bring down my other 0, which is 5. So this would be 16,375. Don't go. So then when we get to this point, then that's when it's 16.375. So now we need to change this decimal into a percent. So before we divided by 100, this time we're going to multiply by 100. So this 16.375, move the decimal now over to the right, not to the left. So that means that would be 1637.5%. Okay, my next is, let me scroll down a little bit, is 5 1/5. Okay, now, so we're going to start off with a 5. Now I'm going to do point what? Well, 5 goes into 1 0 times, but then 5 goes into 10 now 2 times, which is with 0 remaining, so it's 5.2. Now I'm going to multiply by 100%. That should have been a percentage there. So then I'm going to take this decimal, and I'm going to put a couple zeros, and what I'm doing is I'm actually going to move this 0 or this decimal over 2 positions, because that 0, we have 2 of them. So that would be 520%. So that's showing you some by hand. Now if we start putting this in my calculator, all you have to do with this fraction is do 2 divided by 11, which is 0.1818. Just like before, always multiply by 100%, which means we'll move the decimal over 2 positions. So my final answer is 18.18%. Just depends on what they ask you as far as your decimal is concerned, which place, what to round it to. So finally, I'm going to show us the difference between 0.8% as a decimal and then a fraction. So remember, when you go from percentage to a decimal, we're going to divide by 100, or we're going to move the decimal over 2 to the left. So I'm going to say 1, 2. So now that is 0.008. This is my decimal answer. So now I'm going to take my 0.008 and I'm going to put it into a fraction form. So the key is that last position. What position is that 8 in? Well, that 8 is in the 1,000th position. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to always take that top number and divide it into the bottom number, see if it comes out perfectly. And in this case it does. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. And then 8 goes into 1,125 times. This is the fraction. Now, if you did not do this, you can always, if they're even numbers like the 8 and 0, keep dividing it by 2. Okay, thank you for listening. Look for my next section where I'm going to do percentage problems in section 5.4. Thank you very much.